someone about pointing finger. Okay, we know who I'm talking about. Szalami is going to be one of these normie HRE spammers. We've seen this a few times. It's something we actually haven't really seen much of. I think we haven't seen a tool so far on the pit on this channel. Is the Abbasids. Looks like Don Artie's going to be going for them now. I am curious to see how it's going to be played on this map, but I'm also like less curious because every time I watch Don Artie play the Abbasids, you know how players have differing ideas on how they think a Civ is best utilized? Usually the way that Don Artie thinks a Civ is best utilized, or at least this Civ specifically, is with towers early on. And considering that he is up against the HRE, I wouldn't at all be surprised to see him tower rush. That being said, no movement onto wood just yet, so no rush towards that. And I think if he was going to do it, he'd do it super early on to try and block out the gold, especially with it being a forward-like spawn here. In fact, if Artie was to scout this and see the layout of the base, if he actually went for an outpost block, it would screw Szalami's game. He'd have to play very far away for any other gold. He could potentially get onto this one pretty safely with like one outpost to lay yourself, but it's still a lot of idle time. It's a lot of delay for you. So we'll have to see if that's a strategy that Artie wants to engage with. Now, I'm not doing Artie dirty, by the way, when I say, oh, I think that he's going to go for an outpost rush. He kind of done himself dirty with this. The amount of times I've opened an Artie Abbasid game and it has started with outposts being spammed against Chinese, against HRE, against any type of boomy type Civ is just ludicrous. So that's why it's always at the forefront in my mind. He's the one to blame. So he'll start to make his way up, at least with the House of Wisdom. By the way, if you haven't caught on yet by the fact they call him Szalami, yes, free spear equal one knight, one archer equal free spear is indeed Szalami. These guys are ranked 30th and 33rd on the ranked leaderboard right now. So this should be a very, very tight one between the two. In fact, if I check the difference in games play, because you've got to remember Szalami, like this account that Szalami's playing on is like 80th, but his main is 30th. He's played 52 games on that one. Don Artie's played 86 on his account. So a little bit differential there. You can read into that however you want. I don't know, you can pretty much paint whatever story you want with stats. So it's one of the fun things that I like to highlight. Like a good friend of mine would say stats don't lie, and he's true. But what can lie is the people using them. Because you can look at a stat and like you can use it to say something, right? Like you can kind of, if you really want, you can say that this justifies that. It's just how you portray arguments. So like, I remember one of my Rocket League colleagues was saying recently on Twitter, like, you know, when he started casting, he used stats, and it's like a good way to start, but it doesn't tell the whole story. And it's so true. Like, the reality is, I think the best way to kind of approach things is that you present a stat and then explain why. I think that's actually like a cooler way to approach. Like, I think it's preferential. You can do it the other way around, where you give an argument and then use a stat to support it. But it feels like better to expand upon something from the logic of this is the stat. Now let's try and explore why. Because I think the cool thing when you try to approach a conversation from that standpoint, as opposed to the other way, is like it feels like a discussion that you're open to flexibility on, versus the other way around. It feels like you've already made up your mind, and now here's my justifications, right? Here's my theses. Not to be confused with the other type of theses. Although, to be honest, it's appropriate if your argument is terrible. But yeah, I prefer that approach. I like to kind of explore things. I think the cool thing that you'll notice if you look at the top 10, top 20 players in the game is they'll all look at certain civs a different way, right? It's like one person might say the French is OP, and then you might have BC go, no, the HRE is definitely OP. And then you might have, like, you know, someone who's clearly been living in an attic, not playing Age of Empires for 2 months, that says the Abbasids are OP. Sorry, Abbasid spammers. But that's the cool thing here is, like, you have differing kind of perspectives, and I think the other cool thing is that a lot of these players' playstyles enable a Civ to look OP, whereas for another player it doesn't, right? I think if you're a more aggressive Civ, a more aggressive player, then like Civ choices such as, say, the English or maybe even the Chinese, depending on like the way you play them, might not work out for you. Whereas if you're more kind of an eco-boomer, you might find better ways of utilizing that. All right, so Tech Up's coming out. Nothing has really occurred so far. It's just the beginning of the escalation. And now we're going to see the racks. This is where things are going to get exciting because it looks like Szalami is going to be the first one to pounce. Interesting. Well, he should know that there's stone being gathered up by Artie. Artie has shown 0 aggression thus far.
Yeah, Inti.
All right, now I have to quickly defend myself because people are like, English can be very aggressive. Yes, they can. Most civs can be aggressive, but it comes down to the player's playstyle as well. Like, there are people who like being aggressive that would say they much prefer the Mongols because of the fluidity, or the French because of the fluidity of movement. It depends on like how the playstyle works. Some players are better aggressive civs that like don't rely on a slow static movement. The English are a more slow static movement, right? It's a different style of aggression. And that's what I'm talking about. Like, the interesting part is when you watch different players take to civs, they can all be top players in their own rights, but they will have very differing approaches. And I think it's also why I prefer to see double elimination formats in competitive, because I think different play styles matter a lot. The way that one player would try to aggressively leverage like the English versus another is notable, right? Think about the players that we'll see right now that start doing kind of what we see in the HRE here, right? Where they'll go for the man-at-arms focus instead of lombos, and then other ones that will focus on lombos and outpost pushing. And that style will possibly work better against someone who's maybe more tertiary or someone who's more balanced. Artie is going to need to turtle hit. Goes for a TC on the deer stack. Outpost is going to be coming out. It looks like Szalami is getting very aggressive, the HRE. Love to see this. The cool thing as well is it's kind of complementary in the logic that you are a civ that has a 40% better gathering rate, so you can afford to invest something into feudal aggression without sacrificing scalability. And the cool thing is the way that he's doing it, he's prepping his farms. His farms will boost him phenomenally in the coming minutes. So when he does get done playing with his food in the feudal, he'll be very quick on his rush up towards that castle age. We'll creep in here on the outpost. An outpost that Artie is unlikely to do anything about because he doesn't have the vision. Got to remember that TCs don't actually let you see that much, especially with a slight uphill situation here. And this is going to catch him off guard. I mean, the whole intent of this TC was to, 1, protect your flank, and 2, get the food source. Now it kind of feels like it's doing neither of these things. And I wouldn't be surprised, actually, if we just see Szalami wrap over to the berry line next, because after that, it's danger territory to the north side for Artie. He hasn't leveraged himself there at all. He hasn't built military forces to defend. He's finally starting to do that now with the stables being built. But remember, there's already a Rax coming out from good old Szalami, so we could just see him going to spears. But for the time being, he'll continue to just push more man-at-arms. Man-at-arms that will now dive onto the berry patch. And Artie not noticing or reacting yet. Will have to on the stone line at least. As you'd hope he would. Finally, we'll peel them back, and we'll see an outpost now dropped onto that stone outcropping because he knows exactly what Artie's game is. All about that TC boom that he doesn't want to allow him to realize. Szalami will shift his patrol group across here to guard the build-up as more man-at-arms start to flood out. Let's see the wraparound attempt here. Just not going to be good for Artie, though. He's going to try to target down the villager. This is going to be tight, however. Pull back, not in time. A little bit delayed there. The horseman gets the final strike. Nice move by Artie. Doesn't even lose a single horseman for it. Now Szalami, will he actually invest more villagers than this? I think Artie's goal here is now just to extend another TC up to north side, if possible, and then cruise up to castle. And the good thing about this for him is like Artie has noticed a lot of troops being invested in by Szalami, which means Szalami is delaying his castle timing. Like, sure, you know he's going to escalate still. We already highlighted that that's feasible for the HRE. But it means they're not getting this optimized timing for quick relic grab. And it gives you time to do things like this. The wall-ups that are going to block some relics and also give you extensive area to move into as the game goes on. I have to wonder, Szalami is considering maybe going for like secondary TC? Wait, what? How did Artie sneak this? What? He wrapped around. He's going to block out the stone, maybe some of the wood as well. If he keeps moving, I'm going to block out most wood gathering for Szalami. In fact, his goal should be to reach here and drop one so that Szalami can't gather wood with any sort of buff. Although that is soon to be the case naturally anyway, as that wood line is running out. Meanwhile, Raid into the base, going deep here. The man-at-arms moving through. Man-at-arms that have been juiced up in the movement speed department. So they're able to gap close and stick on top of the villagers. Villagers that do move a little bit quicker, the shuffle through can punish them. A lot of idle time now coming out this dive. Szalami, what is he buying time for? I mean, he's not really shrinking the eco that much of Artie, but he will look to take the resources away with more outposts being constructed. And even blocking out the berries now. In fact, if he wraps north, he'll block out all food sources away from Artie. And Artie, meanwhile, is trying to block out the woods, slowly moving his way out. Crafty Bugger might just do it. He's being very kind of defensive about this. He could have got more aggressive with his placement, but he's worried about villagers coming out. And uh-oh, the goose is cooked. The plan's been revealed. Arislit's upgrades ensures that as well. Meanwhile, fortifications coming out from Szalami as they're both playing the outpost race. Who will be blocked out first, though? Well, the raid around the backside does spot out where the villagers moved over to, so now Szalami knows where to target next. But wrapping by the TC could cause him to take more damage than he wants on the way. That being said, he does have the shortest route available to him. But I think for now, the goal has changed. Szalami, like, he's done with his aggression. I'm expecting a tech up now. There's no reason in delaying this feudal any longer. Like, you've done great pressure. You've delayed your opponent. Build a few more outposts as you choose. But outside that, like, don't invest in more troops. It's not like you need them to defend you either, because you can see that Artie's been very budgeted with the troops he's been pushing because of a lack of resources that he has access to. Looks like the villager went one outpost too far. Nice pick with the horseman. Stables are starting to be prepped. Gold not really being mined in mass yet by Szalami, which is a little bit surprising here. Looks like he wants to renew his horseman push. Very, very dragged out feudal here. And the outposts are up. And the bad news is in, Artista. The outposts crawl through the chase across. It looks like he wants a stone, so Szalami had the wrong idea. He didn't go after the right target here. However, with the arrow slits coming through and Artie not noticing yet, this could prove problematic. This is just a cheeky outpost rush on both sides, actually. Push through. Villagers rushing up the outpost. Looks like they should be able to garrison inside. Torch damage will start to come out, but it's not enough. I'd be very surprised if this outpost dies. I think Artie just needs to chill and back away. In fact, that shift over might have just saved him. Might be the saving grace. But make no mistake, things are still being blocked out, and you saw the move. Artie, he tried to torch down the outpost. Nice read by Szalami to get the fortification, though. And now you have to build a ram. You can't address this any other way. Meanwhile, the torch damage coming through feels somewhat negligible here. Arislit's going to add in even more damage. The horsemen are being cleaned up. I think this is just an army thrown away, and Artie's not going to gain much for it. Because afterwards, these 4 villagers will move out and probably look to block off the stone. Maybe you set this on fire, but I don't think you do more than that. Yeah, only 2 horsemen remaining. And he can rush repair this because there's just not enough damage anymore to stop him. Repairs come out. He'll try to stack on top of him, but straight away gets back in, baits the camel in range. And I don't know about this one. I mean, Artie tries to wrap on the north side, does get spotted out doing that, so his shenanigans will come to an end. But keep in mind, Szalami still has 4 villagers out here to continue with. Although he did miss micro there, pulls them out. They'll shift down. They need to back away, though. Szalami? Sir? Okay, he's going to save 2 villagers, but that was a mistake there. He actually should have lost none of them, really. Outside the first one from building it up. But at the end of the day, he has killed a lot of troops. There is a concern that Artie's still escalating his eco count while Szalami's sacrificing some of it. But this is where we should see Szalami tech up. Like, he's hoarding resources. At this rate, it could be a quick 1-2 punch from Castle to Imperial. And that will allow him to completely recover this economical loss in terms of villager count. Szalami? At what point do you just get a ram? I don't think we're there yet. I would have loved to have seen him move some horsemen here to torch down these 2 outposts, though. Seems like both of them are kind of getting distracted, missing certain things. And oh, because he's finding this instead. He might be missing out on his own villagers dying, but he's going to strike at plenty over here. As Artie gets caught building up the TC, the wraparound is perfect with the horseman. And several villagers going to be struck down. A heavy hit for Artie. He really wanted to extend himself out. Instead, he has to go for a defensive TC. Now all layered together. Not really the spread out he's looking for. Looks like Szalami, in the meantime, has at least moved deep enough in the wood line that the outpost will not scout him anymore. Okay, spoke too soon. It will continue to scout him. Horsemen, in the meantime, will start to dive in. A heavy hit into the village account on both sides, at least comparatively to where they are at. Tech up is now complete. Artie, however, nowhere near ready. And now with the Regnitz Cathedral built, this is where access will be obtained. This is where we could see this turning into a 4, possibly even 5 relic game, because Artie is not in position to block these out. The only block he done was the wall. A wall that will be chopped around by Szalami. The rest of the horsemen just going to be thrown away in the dive here. Just idling a lot of eco. Look at this. 28 villages of Artie's are not working right now. Even if they could work, what would they work on? Well, it looks like the Ram is finally working on this outpost, trying to regain lost territory, but the amount of time lost already has hurt Artie to his core. Had to transition to farms a lot earlier than he wanted to as the Abbasids. That's why you may notice he's still nowhere near ready for his tech up. Man at arms. I mean, I'm happy if I'm the HRE player there. 20 villagers just wasted their time shivving me down when they should have been gathering resources. It's totally worth it. Oh my god, especially when you look at that. 47 to 40 now. Definitely worth throwing away the troops, especially considering that Don Artie doesn't have a counterattack force to now rush out with. He's just a whole age behind with little to show for it. It looks like Szalami is now going to start making his way through the tree line. And Prelates will rush out to pick up both of these relics, which will be pretty much freebies. No way that they're going to be contested by Artie, as Artie's still just trying to reacquire southern control of the map, but that still might be difficult. Horsemen marching out now. Will be too late to likely stop the Ram, but they can target the village account. And once again, idle eco. That being said, if he is quick about this, this is going to be tight with the Ram. Remember, these horsemen do get bonus damage against siege. However, it is on fire, so it looks like the outpost will go down. But the horsemen are here to apply pressure while the prelates now pick up the goodies. Artie will need a change in plan here. He needs that tech up, and then once he arrives at that tech up, he needs proof of concept. He needs to know what's coming next from Szalami to counter it. Which is why I would love to see some scouting vision on the military area, but he doesn't have scouts. He only has static emplacements, which seem good in theory, but realistically, like, they aren't giving you the critical info. You can't see what the military transition is at Szalami, especially when he does this. This is actually a pristine play. He pulls onto the new wood line because he got harassed in the outposts, and now he uses this area to build up a proxy base that will shorten the route to engage with Don Artie. And it is going to be a massment of man-at-arms, an amassment that was unlikely to be spotted anytime soon by Artie. That means Artie is unlikely to get the counter to these man-at-arms, which would be, of course, the crossbows. Even more so when Szalami's still doing this. 10+ horsemen marching around the center means he's more likely to go into spears or into his own horsemen to try and contest with camel archers. And those units will not handle the man-at-arms. Regnitz still only having gathered 1 relic so far, although I think he dropped some others maybe in outposts. Yeah. Okay, so it is 3 relics right now. Soon to be 4, because he can sneak over here and just take this away from Artie. Artie, who, by the way, is still lacking a military force. He's waiting on the tech up to actually build anything, and I think this is quite bad for him. He would benefit from having some cannon fodder, some kind of momentum in the midfield. Instead, he's surplusing over 1.5k in food and gold. And he doesn't have the infrastructure to build all of the units out of them yet. Like, he's going to tech up. He's going to queue up, say, 6 Lancers, but it's going to be queued up in 3 stables. And that's why you see him escalating the count. He just needs so many stables right now. Meanwhile, man-at-arms continue to push out now. Upgrades haven't been stockpiled yet. Instead, we're going to see the Devoutness coming out. Love this play. Actually an underrated tech. We've seen a few players start to take this more seriously. The extra 10% gathering is totally worth it. The low price of entry. Now Horseman raiding in. Looking to force idle eco again. Artie, he just got all the farm set up. Wants value out of him. Instead, value is being struck out of him. Bled out of him, in fact, as the man-at-arms now dive towards the secondary TC, deeper into the base. And deep towards that wood line. A wood line with this many horsemen, you can body block off. Now you see them all retreating, but they're retreating towards an already full TC. That's going to be a lot of dead villages if he's not careful. Tries to peel them back to the south side instead, but the hit is hard here. Artie, just as soon as he builds an eco lead, it's going to start to shrink for him. And it really doesn't have to shrink by that much for it to be favorable for Szalami. Think about the eco hit here. It was 71, well, probably 70 compared to 52. Most of that economy belonging to Szalami is buffed up with Holy Inspiration. So they're 40%, 50% more efficient, in fact, due to Devoutness. Means that he's actually neck and neck, if not head now. Even more so with the relics, remember. He's got 3 of these 5 relics banked, giving 600 gold a minute. That's effectively 15 villages. And the horsemen are just wasting so much time. Now, the negative side of this for Szalami is, remember, that Artie is going to win the trade with the Lancers. So after this, Szalami doesn't have an army, and Artie has several Lancers. However, now that he's seen that you're hard pivoted into these Lancers, he has options available to him. You can see for the moment he is prepping to go into a few more man-at-arms, but I'm expecting to switch up into Spears soon. Spears and Lang's deck is a better way to go now, even if you are diving these TCs. For now, he's going to take his time, because I think what Szalami really wants, I can tell you what he wants, what he really, really wants. He wants to tech up. And with the amount of farms he now has online, that tech up becomes quite feasible. You're talking about 23 farms gathering at a 1.05 rather, food per second rate. That's quicker than shoreline fish. He will escalate very quickly in the count. Especially if he slows down the investment into military troops. And Stonewall's now going up, and the timing could not be worse for Artie. He tries to torch through, but it's too little too late. All these walls are not vulnerable enough for him to get through. They're all going to go up, and not enough crossbowmen to snipe out the villagers doing the work. Wraparound comes out from a few troops. Sure, maybe you could kill a few Szalami's troops here, but the wall's up, the delay is in place, and it looks like it's going to be a reinvestment. Szalami, because he sees the force of Lancers coming his way, he realizes he can't be a greedy boy. He has to play a prolonged castle, which is why we will see the Knights and the Man-at-Arms being prepped. Man-at-Arms that, of course, have been beefed up. They do have their maces, they do have their two-handed, which means they handle the Lancers quite effectively. Now, keep drop coming out from Artie. Interesting choice here. I feel like Outpost would do the same. This was a bit overkill of an investment. If he goes into medical centers, it maybe makes a bit more sense. Otherwise, I just don't see the value in this keep. You've just shown a keep on the front line, and Szalami can just build one trebuchet and take it out. Wrap around in the meantime, though. Artie coming in. Szalami was out of position. Will force a clash. Man-at-Arms trying to engage. They are outnumbered for the moment, but the Horsemen can be effective cannon fodder. However, the target is pristine. Artie goes straight after the unit that would counter him. Still losing this fight, though. It is a defensive fight for the moment, but you can see the wrap onto the Sacred Site, trying to get the decap in here. More troops are needed. Szalami lacking militarily to hold this back. And remember, Artie, although he's felt pressure time and time again, Artie may have thrown one army too many away with the dive into the base, because now Artie's fully recovered. 97 to the 61 eco, and military looking healthy when you consider practically all of this is Lancers. Several more villages might go down. You need to retreat away quickly. I don't know about this anymore. Not when you do this as well. Szalami now pushing Knights despite the fact he's up against Camel Archers, which of course has the Camel Unease, reducing his damage by 20%. And this is the downside to this military production line where he's placed it. He's pushing Man-at-Arms to defend his own base. They have to run far. And now the stable switch. This doesn't feel like a stable move out of Szalami. I think this might actually end up costing him the game at this rate. He's kind of hard stuck into going into Knights because he doesn't have choke points to rely on Man-at-Arms. The Lancers are in, they're flooding, they're spreading out. He needs a unit that can chase them down. The problem is that unit is going to be countered if there's just one camel in the mixer each time. This might be the moment for him to take a good fight. Lance is already heavily damaged, means that he should be able to clean up most of them here and look to reset. But you can see the reset is going to be short-lived. Artie moving in with the defensive keep near the Sacred Site to prevent a cap on all three here. This will turn into a proxy base. The reason I call it defensive keep is this is all about stopping flank attacks from coming in. Now Szalami has this frustrating situation where he can only play north side, and he doesn't want to play north side anymore because Artie's already set the pace on the southern side. So what does Artie do? He sets up this keep to allow Fortescue's Workshop to defend his holdings and allow him a way of slowly crawling into the base of Szalami on the opposite side to where his military production line is. Plus side of this for Szalami means that he can keep producing troops throughout the entire siege. downside of this for Szalami means he has to wait a long time to get his troops on the front line again. Whew. I feel like Artie, I mean, this is cruise mode now. We said about this keep not making much sense, and this one justifies what we were talking about, what we want to see, which is medical center now. So I'll give him reset points. He can be more efficient with his troops than the HRE can. An HRE that feels very much handicapped at this stage. 67 eco to 116. I do find actually being outpost spammed like this does set you back somewhat. And this might be the only move he has. He's going in for a dive. Man-at-arms pushing into the base, but with the quadruple rather archery range plus more behind it, this could be a reaction of crossbows quickly to counter out what's coming. I don't actually think Artie comes back with these troops to react to this. I think he dives into the base when he sees you're out of position. He's got a lot more villages he can sacrifice. Dive in. Some static defenses here to help. Crossbows now being stockpiled. Lancers on the front line with trebuchets, not ready to react just yet. The camel archers are now on their way back, though it looks like he is going to be forced to react to this. However, with crossbows coming out, he already has the reaction on the defensive. And the wasted time, Szalami's chasing after these crossbows. This kiting is effective because it can allow time for reinforcements to arrive with minimum damage done to the eco. Yes, you do have 30 idle villages, but with Szalami only on a solid 69, doesn't really matter much in the grand scheme of things. Like, sure, you've got this extra 50% gathering rate, but you're up against the double Golden Age, which means it's 15% gathering rate for Don Artie. Doesn't put him that far behind, realistically. Now the idle time continuing now to 41. Military count is high for Szalami. He's really all in on this push. With the lags that coming in, this could be the jugular move. The strike for the head. This could be big. And I think the mistake that was made here for Artie is he peeled back all troops. He needed a few pushing into his opponent's base here. A few knights riding in could have done a lot of damage. The Trebs can still do some serious work, but the economical damage you could have done on the farmlands would have been huge here. Instead, Szalami sets the pace. He forces you to react, and now, with double the military, this could get dangerous for Don Artie. Especially if this turns into a staged fight. If clump troops come together, this is a lot of Langsneck. Because he can afford it, right? He's got the 600 passive gold coming in every minute that fuels this. Now the villager pool. I think we know what Szalami wants to do here. Stockpile the stone. He traded for it with the gold. It's going to be a keep drop right on top. Probably the primary TC to shut down 4 archery ranges as well as a decent sum of farms here. These Trebs aren't doing serious damage yet. Even if they get to a serious target, E-Repairs is going to shut you down in your tracks here. Here we go. Keep goes up. Could have been postured more aggressively. He plays it a little bit safe, though. It's just a staging point to move in from. Expecting a siege workshop behind this. Can make quick work of a lot of the infrastructure in this area. And Artie biding this time because he has to. He's doubled up in terms of military count at all times, it seems. There is that siege workshop as expected. I don't like this right now because the other issue for Artie is he's ranged. He's over 60% ranged formation. He's got a few lancers, but it's pretty much all ranged now. In fact, I'd say it's up to 75%, maybe 80. The problem with this is this doesn't need to be Trebs. It can be a Treb into Mangonels afterwards. Mangonels that will completely obliterate your ability to fight at all, and then you just turn this into a torch party. Honestly, it's like we are at a concert, humming Kumbaya, waving candles. Because the amount of torches that are going to be thrown under these premium fire targets is going to be painful. Like, they are going to die fast. 60 plus units ready to start torching. First wave goes in, patrolling for the tree line. Tree line has shifted to the east side, though. More houses being targeted out. Szalami will need to recount for that. Doesn't want to find himself pop camp, but that is approaching soon if he doesn't build more of these houses. Gold being gathered far, far away from home. Not the most ideal placement coming out, Szalami, so maybe some things to improve upon. But this game has been very chaotic so far, so hard to keep track of everything. And the Treb's going after the House of Wisdom. He just wants to end the game. That's the idea here. Now he's parked. He says, you need to react to me. You need to come to me. You need to do something about me. Me. Says the HRE. The man-at-arms start to scatter around, feeling the base, looking for a target. Keep taking some heavy damage from the trebuchets as Artie will be forced to react back in his own base. Treb's hitting onto the primary TC. E-repairs needs to be used, but so far Szalami delays it. I think he's totally forgotten about it at this stage. In fact, he just might lose his primary TC for nothing, which would be a big mistake coming out here. Shout out to my boy Snoop over the raid. A raid that's looking much more effective than what we saw earlier out of Szalami. But this time around, this could be a game-ending raid. You can see the TC being built on the forefront. In the meantime, the primary TC is on fire, soon to fall. He forgot the repairs. Big mistake made there. His economy is about to be exposed. My concern about this for Szalami is his income numbers are going to sink fast. Because these farms are going to start being targeted. The Horsemen, the Lancers, everything raiding in. They just want to take out the eco. Take out the eco, take out the man here. This is paying a high price to keep these troops up. E-repairs on the front line is at least there. Comes in clutch. Dive-in attempt by Artie, but he's moving in with low armored units up against a keep that will pepper him down. And now the clash underway. Langsneck moving in with their spread damage. Camel's not going to last long. Insufficient stone to keep the repairs coming out. The E-repairs lasting long enough. And the flood for a troops. The tide of purple coming in. That will turn yellow to red as blood will spill here. Langsneck trying to cleave through the crossbows in the choke points. Forces a retreat out. The House of Wisdom on fire. But now the Langsneck are in. Now the troop power is revealed. The repair force are in trouble. Yes, he has got the tech stars, but if the Langsneck get on top of this, it's going to be trouble all around here. The amount of villagers being butchered right now. Szalami with it all in play, trying to end the game fast here, and the amount of dead villagers going down. Just a few Langsneck are doing the true God's work here. Keep goes down. Treb count now up to 5. It's a race between attack and defend right now because sure, you've killed the economy of Szalami, shrinking it down to 47, but he's shrinking your base down to nothing. Eco hit, also hard on the other side. Trebs standing their ground. Second wave of troops trying to defend against the Horsemen. Need to be quick to react here. Shuffles in position as the Trebuchets turn onto the primary TC. He could do this, he could end this, but it's going to be tight. Repairs come out. Horsemen, the count is not high enough. Artie, despite his best efforts, despite his best strike, shutting down the Archon Chapel, shutting down the eco, forcing everything to idle for Szalami. It's still not enough. The trebuchet count is too high, and GG is going to be there. Artie cannot hold. The Langsneck with the MVP that assured that he got cut down on the spot. What a way for Szalami to do this. He'll take the pit.